Right now on Friends at 5, a landmark decision. The Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. Now the issue of abortion is up to the states. A look at what it means for South Carolina, including some changes that could happen as soon as the summer. All right, folks, thanks for joining us for Friends at 5 on this Friday. I'm Darcy Strickland.
And I'm J.R. Berry. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, returning abortion decisions back to the states.
A decision from the Supreme Court today that could impact the future of women's health for millions of Americans. The court sided with the state of Mississippi and moved to eliminate the constitutional right to an abortion.
Skylar Henry has more on today's decision.
Protesters erupted outside the Supreme Court after the justices ruled to overturn Roe versus Wade.
I kept hoping for the best, but it's clear that these justices don't care about the majority of Americans and their voices.
This is going to be like history. This is just the beginning of, the pro-life generation, being there for women, for the unborn.
Writing for the majority, Justice Samuel Alito said the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Chief Justice John Roberts joined the other 5 conservatives in upholding Mississippi's abortion ban, but wrote he would have stopped short of overruling Roe outright.
It's a sad day for the court and for the country.
President Biden called the decision wrong and extreme.
Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk.
The court's 3 liberals agreed, writing they dissented with sorrow for the many millions of American women who have today lost a fundamental constitutional protection. The court's ruling wasn't a surprise. It had been forecast several weeks ago following a leaked draft indicating which way the justices were leaning. The decision is expected to lead to abortion bans in roughly half the states.
This decision is a victory for the pro-life movement and for the generations of Americans who never gave up hope.
The ruling puts the court at odds with a majority of Americans. CBS News polling found 2/3 wanted the court to leave Roe versus Wade in place, as it has been for nearly half a century. Skylar Henry, CBS News, at the Supreme Court.
Well, in addition to overturning Roe, Justice Clarence Thomas also called on the court to overturn other rulings, including protections for same-sex marriage and the use of contraceptives.
We're going to begin our coverage tonight with News 19's Becky Budd. She's live outside the State House to explain what this means for South Carolina. Becky?
JR, several people have already started lining up behind me at the State House in protest of today's historic ruling to overturn Roe versus Wade. Now, South Carolina does not have a so-called trigger law, which automatically bans abortion. However, Republican lawmakers have been preparing to pass more restrictive abortion legislation in a special session next month. Currently, South Carolina bans abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy. However, a new state law banning abortion once a fetal heartbeat is detected or at about 6 weeks will soon take effect. That law has been held up in federal court since Governor Henry McMaster signed it last year. A law passed before the end of the regular session allows South Carolina legislators to return anytime after July 1st to respond to the Supreme Court's ruling. Today, I spoke to Democrats and Republicans about the ruling. Take a listen.
What we are now going to do is tell those women, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what your body says, it only matters what the government says. And I don't understand how a state that talks so much about freedom can take so much away from a woman.
We're going to have public hearings on this, and then we're going to come up with a bill, and we're going to put that to the House for a vote. And I expect the Senate to do the same thing.
South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson has already filed a motion to lift the stay on the Fetal Heartbeat Act. Coming up at 6 o'clock, I'll have more on when that law could take effect. For now, live at the State House, Becky Budd, News 19 WLTX.
Becky, thank you. In a statement, Governor McMaster says the state is filing motions for that 6-week Fetal Heartbeat Act to take effect. The governor called today's Supreme Court ruling a resounding victory for the Constitution and for those who have worked for so many years to protect the lives of the most vulnerable among us.
And today's decision is set to impact abortion laws here in South Carolina. As of right now, abortions are illegal after 20 weeks of pregnancy. Last year, state lawmakers did pass that fetal heartbeat bill, which would ban abortions at about 6 weeks before most women know they're even pregnant. That law was put on hold by the federal court pending the outcome of today's Supreme Court decision. Today, the State Attorney General's office again filing that motion with the Fourth Circuit Court to lift the stay, allowing that law to take effect. Now, recent surveys taken before today's decision showed that a majority of Americans supported keeping abortion legal. According to CBS News, 65% said that they wanted Roe v. Wade to be kept in place. Their poll also showed most Americans said they want abortion to be legal in their state in all or most cases. And those who support Roe said overturning the decision would be a danger to women and a threat to rights in general. Other Americans, though, who favored overturning Roe say it's a protection for the unborn and would move the country in the right direction.
6th District Congressman James Clyburn is speaking out against today's ruling. I talked with him earlier today about what this decision means for women who are already suffering from health disparities.
We know that this is not going to end women making decisions regarding their rights to give or not give birth. We know that. And those with means will be able to make the adjustments to this ruling because they're leaving it up to the states. And people who can jump on a plane and go to a state where they can have it done will do so. Those of lesser means that cannot do that.
State Attorney General Alan Wilson also made a statement on the Supreme Court's ruling. He says, quoting now, for almost 50 years, the country's abortion policy was controlled by 9 unelected judges. He says he's always thought Roe v. Wade was bad policy, was wrongly decided, and not supported by the Constitution. He adds that this ruling does not outlaw abortion nationwide, but rather allows the people of each state to decide. Today's opinion overturned the 1973 decision. The ruling stated that the Constitution provided a fundamental right to privacy that protects a woman's right to choose. That ruling also stated that the right to an abortion is not absolute.
And a breakdown now of how each of the 9 justices voted. Justices appointed by Republican presidents voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. They include Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Chief Justice John Roberts filed an opinion concurring with the judgment to uphold Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban, but he noted he would not have overturned Roe v. Wade. Justices appointed by Democrat presidents voted to keep the ruling. They are Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and the outgoing Stephen Breyer.
More companies are now offering to assist their employees have access to reproductive care. In response to today's decision, Dick's Sporting Goods announced that they will provide employees with up to $4,000 in travel reimbursement expenses if they live where an abortion is outlawed. Company officials say they're making this decision so their teammates can have access to the same health care options regardless of where they live and choose what is best for them. Other companies also announced similar plans, including investment bank JP Morgan, Disney, and Warner Brothers. Earlier this year, major companies like Apple, Amazon, and Starbucks started offering travel assistance as states began assessing restrictive abortion laws. We asked viewers to send in their opinions on today's ruling, and here's some of what we've been hearing from you. One viewer says it should be unlawful to make changes in a 50-year-old precedent, and a woman should be able to be in charge of her body and not a group of politically appointed persons. This next viewer says, I support the decision of the Supreme Court in overturning Roe v. Wade. Another viewer, a gigantic step backwards and evidence of the hypocrisy of our politicians. All those who screamed that the government had no right to tell them to wear a mask or get vaccinated are fine with telling women what medical procedure they can or can't have. And another viewer, delighted with the decision. My body, my right sure didn't apply with COVID, did it? No more killing for convenience. Coming up in the second half hour of Friends at 5, we'll have a doctor live in our studio to talk about birth control options and best practices for women moving forward. Now, for the latest on this ruling nationwide and here in South Carolina, head to our website, that's WLTX.com, or look for this story on the free News 19 mobile app.
Whitney, let's go check back in with you from your vantage point. What's going on?
Hey, JR and Reggie. All right, so where I'm at, which is pretty close to the State House, I'm out on a patio, Palmetto patio, and y'all, just passing me by was Congressman Clyburn. Also, we saw Columbia Mayor Daniel Rickenman. Both of them will be addressing the crowd at the State House for the ceremony that will be taking place there in just a little bit. Now, I can tell you, I have a rundown of all of the people who are in the parade, and the people that you're really hoping to see, expecting to see, excited to see, which are members of the Gamecock basketball team. They are going to be coming in shortly. But right now, as you probably heard, we had a lot of law enforcement. We're seeing a lot of lawmakers, a lot of organizations that are really integral in making our city and Richland County just absolutely amazing. And so we have Columbia City Council right now passing me, and then you can see the South Carolina Gamecock bus again, speaking to the fact that we are going to see the stars of this parade very, very soon. Now, I have to say, I was speaking to a couple of people who are out here. I spoke to a young lady who's from Baltimore, and she said, I didn't expect this to be that big of a deal. I didn't realize this many people were going to be out for this parade, and I really think that that speaks to the powerhouse program that Don Staley and the team has built. I mean, this support, the community support that the Gamecock women's basketball team receives really is an anomaly, and it just again speaks to the program that Coach Staley has built, but it also speaks to how important it is to ingratiate yourself into the community, like Chandler said earlier. But it's so beautiful because everybody who is out here, it's almost like they're a part of the team as well. Coach Staley and the team calls Gamecock fans fams. She's really created a family atmosphere, and the best way that I can describe the aura, the atmosphere out here, it feels like a big family reunion, a big family cookout, because everybody just supports this team so much and so well. And so we're going to continue to stand out here and bring you updates, but I'm telling y'all, very soon we're going to see the stars of the show. Back to you guys in the studio.
Right now on Friends at 5, tornadoes whipped through the Midlands yesterday with multiple locations sustaining significant damage from the storms. See how those communities impacted are planning to rebuild. Plus, time is running out for state lawmakers to get their bills passed. We'll explain.
And yesterday we had 15 tornado warnings. That's almost as much as we had last year. But now we've got another tornado watch for tonight. We'll talk about what to expect in your forecast on Friends at 5 starting right now.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight for Friends at 5. I'm Andrea Mon.
And I'm Darcy Strickland. What you see behind us, drone footage showing the damage caused by a huge tornado that struck Allendale County. It was one of the areas hardest hit by yesterday's storms.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are just now getting a good look at all of this damage. The National Weather Service confirmed 3 tornadoes tore through the Midlands yesterday. An EF2 in Clarendon County, an EF1 in Lexington, Calhoun counties, and an EF2 in Lexington, Aiken counties as well. So they moved, and you can see this aerial video there. Things are just destroyed. Many people need help now. Volunteers at the American Red Cross are helping 15 families after a tornado ripped through Allendale County. That's the tornado you see there. In total, 5 homes totally destroyed. 4 had major damage and 6 have minor damage. Volunteers are now helping these families, providing shelter and food and clothing as well. And some of the most dramatic footage from the storms comes from Stephanie Cochran. Now, she and her husband were caught, look at this, in what they believe was a tornado right on Highway 301 in Ulmer. Unbelievable there. It looks like a massive roof or something was just flying past the car. We've got team coverage tonight on the aftermath of the storms. We are going to start with News 19's Ty Wong in Allendale County. Ty, what have you seen today?
Yeah, that's right. I'm here in the town of Allendale, where residents are still trying to pick up the pieces after yesterday's devastating storm. If you want to look at this house right behind me, the tree in the front yard has completely split in half from the tornado that came by, falling onto their yard, part of it falling onto their garage, trapping the vehicles that they have. Other trees have been completely uprooted. Now, I also spoke with other residents in the area, and one woman says that the roof of her home completely came off.
You can't see because on the back, but this house have a fireplace and it had a chimney. The chimney is gone, and not just a circle. Just open? An open space, and water was like pouring down.
Other residents I spoke with say they've been through severe weather before, but nothing as strong and devastating as this. Coming up on News 19 at 6, we'll hear more from community members and how they were impacted by the storm. But for now, reporting in Allendale, Taiwan, News 19 WLTX.
From Allendale down to Orangeburg County, where community members are lending a helping hand to help each other clean up following last night's severe weather. In the Cattle Creek neighborhood of Roseville, many residents woke up to fallen trees and storm debris. The county is reporting this neighborhood was among some of the hardest hit areas, along with houses located off of Highway 201 and Roseville Road. Now, according to Orangeburg County Emergency Services, there were at least 14 homes damaged throughout the county, with at least one home destroyed by a tree. That home located off of Roseville Road going toward Branchville. According to county officials, the good news is no injuries were reported.
And that's a good thing because we're already starting to see storms, very active storms, move through portions of our Midland communities. We have a thunderstorm cluster, a lone one, just to the west of 66 in Orangeburg County. But look at this colossal mess that's moving through Aiken County. And that's not the only one. We've got scores of storms that are coming out of Georgia. And we're talking about intense storms. And that all is moving towards the east, heading towards the Midlands. And with that said, we now have as well a tornado watch for the Midlands. The tornado watch includes Saluda, Lexington, Richland, Calhoun, and Orangeburg counties until 11 o'clock tonight. And this is where we're going to be seeing the activity in the next coming hours. Now, we do have that slight risk for severe weather all throughout our Midland communities, and there's a possibility that we could have some strong gusty winds over 60 miles an hour. The criteria for hail is really low. It's a little bit better when you go into the low country, but again, with that tornado watch, we do have a low risk for tornadoes, but it goes up a little bit more when you get into the areas of Aiken and Orangeburg County. Now, we don't have anything going on right now at Columbia. It's 72 degrees and overcast. So we're going to continue with the showers and thunderstorms tonight. It'll end by overnight tonight early. A low of 63 in the morning, and at least it clears out tomorrow. It'll be windy, partly cloudy with a high of 72. But again, the key thing we're watching is these storms as they intensify as we go through the few hours. We'll take a look at this forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Make sure you're following our WLTX News 19 weather team on social media, as well as all of our journalists for updates on this afternoon's possible severe weather. Again, if your power goes out, you still have your cell phone and you'll be able to keep up with what's developing in the weather.